Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy is brought to you in part by Tom's Place, the finest in men's fashion. Located in Toronto at 190 Baldwin Street, in the heart of Kensington Market. Or visit toms-place.com. It's everything you never needed to know. This is Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
In Kentucky, what is a woman not allowed to wear on the highway? And it's the law.
Yeah, all right. Can smelling your partner's scent reduce stress? Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy. And this week, we scoured the internet to find out these useless tidbits just for you.
Plus, we'll answer your question in the mailbag segment. Can a high-pitched voice shatter a wine glass? And in the news, her boyfriend did what to her face? And now she has a sinus infection?
Totally useless information. It's everything you never needed to know.
All rise! Totally Useless Information Court is now in session.
This is Totally Useless Law Information with Nick and Roy. Objection. Overruled.
Overruled indeed. Thanks for joining us.
Nick,
Yeah.
I feel as though we've done something wrong. I think there's a peace officer in the room with us.
Not only that, but he's a former homicide detective. So
What did you do again, Nick? I'm
thanks for-
sorry, not again. I wouldn't know anything about it.
thanks for joining us on the show. Almost 90 countries around the world, coast to coast to coast in Canada on the iHeartRadio Talk Network. And we do have a special guest. It is iHeartRadio's crime specialist. Now, not because he knows how to commit crimes, he knows how to solve the crimes. It's Mark Mendelson, a former Toronto homicide detective. Mark, thanks for joining us on Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
My pleasure, and Roy, I do hope you have an alibi.
He does. So, Mark.
I do. And the fact that she's a hooker doesn't mean anything.
Wow.
We're not getting into credibility here. I'm worried because you lose in that department.
I know. I'm done.
You're done, man. He could spot you a mile away. How many years were you a detective, Mark?
I was with Toronto Police for 29, but I spent close to 15 years as a lead investigator in the homicide squad. So pretty well half my career.
Is there a difference
Wow.
between let's say a normal, regular detective and a homicide detective?
Well, the difference is in the type of work. I mean, we're all used to watching reality shows and TV shows of sort of those divisional or precinct detective offices, right? And of course, we have those in Toronto and all over Canada, and that's a different kind of investigative, entity because it's a constant flow of bodies coming in. You've got guys who beat somebody up in a bar, and you got drunk drivers, and you got people that broke into houses, and you got intimate partner violence suspects and things like that. So those detectives are constantly just putting these people, into the system, investigating when they can. But it's like a MASH unit. It's a constant. If it's an 8 or 10-hour shift, the bodies are just coming in and coming in and coming in. So there's not a lot of time for really in-depth types of investigations. When you get into homicide, and it doesn't matter what country you're in, murder is, generally speaking, the most serious criminal offense in whatever country's criminal code. And nobody messes with murders when it comes to investigations. We're given all the time in the world, generally speaking. We're given a lot more resources. They are more high profile. Every time we go out to a call, it's ending up on the news somewhere. The media want their bit of information. So the lens is on you. It's the most serious crime. And there are no time constraints. You can pick up 1 or 2 murders sometimes in the course of 7 or 8 months. And stay with those 2 murders depending on the circumstances.
Or Mark, you could be in Chicago and pick up 1 or 2 murders every 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's the difference. I mean, I've gone down to cities in the States like Atlanta and Hartford, etc. on my own murders, and I've worked with the homicide guys down there, and they just plow through them like there's no
So
tomorrow. And they would love more time to do a lot more of the work that's necessary. Fortunately, and certainly in Toronto, we're given the luxury of as much time as you really need.
So, Mark, I'm sure the people listening in right now watch CSI and watch shows like that. Is it really like that? Is it like watching the first 48, and things like that?
Well, parts of the first 48 are important. Everybody says, it's the first 48. If you don't solve it in that time period, the likelihood of success goes down. That's not necessarily true. Those first hours are really important because, information and memories are fresh in people's minds. That's when you want to get to them. But you've got so many things going on, Roy, in those first 48 hours. You got the first notification. You've got the crime scene that has to be, looked at from a forensic point of view. You've got the autopsies that have to be done to give you the cause and the mechanism of death. You've got witnesses to interview, persons of interest to interview, identifying suspects, doing the victimology. So those first 48 hours are literally mayhem if you're the homicide investigator. But when you watch it on TV and it's 47 minutes, minus commercial time, and they got it solved, generally speaking, that's not the reality. A lot of, most people get murdered by somebody that they know, they have a connection to. Whether it's through family or business or drug dealing or gang activity or whatever, it's those stranger on stranger murders that are really the most difficult crimes to solve.
I would
figure
that. Yeah, I would figure those mass murders too. The serial killer it takes a while to pretty much put together his psyche, you got to put together why this guy would be doing this if he's killing people he doesn't even know. There's no rhyme or reason to it, right?
And why they're picking those specific victims. Is it because of the sex of that victim? Is it the hair color? Is it the work that they were in? Is it
Nick's out of it. Nick is out of it because he has no hair color.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So yeah,
no. Nick is innocent. He's just totally innocent. Yeah. Totally useless and innocent.
Yeah, Nick solves it in the first 48, the first 48 seconds, or he'd forget.
Absolutely.
Forget about what? So now you're talking about TV shows as we're listening to Mark Mendelson. He's the iHeartRadio's crime specialist. He's joined us here on the show. And so on those TV shows, can you tell us, in your opinion, which one would be the most accurate in terms of what happens in real life?
Well, let's start with the most inaccurate. We see these shows where they get in there and everybody's looking at the body. They're rolling it around on the scene, having a look, and people are saying, 6 gunshot wounds, haven't even done the autopsy yet. Then they go back to their office and they get DNA back in about 8 minutes, which is unrealistic completely.
All right.
And then they type in somebody's name into a computer, and up it comes on the big screen. There's your killer. Here's his picture. Here's where he works. And here's what he had for breakfast yesterday. It's all there. But in reality,
the breakfast is important. But
it's always a key. You get pea meal bacon or strip bacon. These are all clues that go to.
This is what I got out of everything you just said. Breakfast.
Yeah.
Have you ever been invited to someone's house to play the board game Clue?
Yes. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't Clue. What's this other? It's like a murder mystery.
Yeah, whodunit or something.
Everybody gets a sort of a personality to play.
And did you win?
Yes, I did win. And you know what? I gotta tell you something. I hated every second of it. They didn't even have enough wine in the place to get me through.
Yeah.
It drove me out of my mind. And of course, everybody's looking at me saying, "Well, Mark will know the answer to this. He'll know who the bad guy is." And I found it, root canal would have been easier for me to spend.
Okay, so now here's another thing that befuddles me. And of course, this is me. This is how I think. How do you, as a detective, get paid if you got to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and go do something? Or, are you expected at work at 6 o'clock? Or 8 o'clock? Or is there a time schedule? Because you're a detective. You could be doing work all night long.
Well, I mean, technically speaking, our hours, certainly in Toronto, were 8 to 4. Yeah, on paper. In reality, a different story. When you went on call, when you were the next team up, the next two guys up for the next murder, you stayed on call until you actually got a murder. So you could be on call for 6 hours, sometimes 6 minutes, and sometimes 6 days. And you're getting called constantly in the middle of the night during those time periods by, divisional detectives who think there may be something suspicious about a death. And you've got to make this sort of decision over the phone. Am I getting up? Am I getting in the shower? Am I going out there, or am I going to deal with it over the phone? So there's a lot of overtime involved. Listen, I remember once I went to work in the morning, picked up a murder that afternoon, and worked for like 48 hours straight, and then flew to Bangladesh for 3 weeks. So it's all
Wow.
part of it's all
Yeah.
part of the job. It's what you sign up for, and you have to have a supportive family with you to hold you up while you're doing this. I can't tell you how many birthdays, Father's Days, anniversaries I missed because I was standing in a morgue doing an autopsy. So,
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Well, thank
You
you.
should have married the doctor at the morgue.
no, I married a lawyer. Oh no.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah. I know.
Mark Mendelson, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for enlightening us. I think we'll have you back because we're going to endeavor in some other another interview type show eventually. But I think we'll have you back on and talk about Stu.
I think we can
with
use.
criminals.
I think we can use this, Nick,
Yeah, absolutely.
because this is great.
is-
Yeah, I love it.
Well, I mean-
people are interested in this. Otherwise, you wouldn't have all these CSI shows. I mean, really, honestly.
Thank you for connecting the dots for us. And Mark Mendelson is the iHeartRadio crime specialist. And full disclosure, I work at News Talk 1010 in Toronto, part of the iHeartRadio network, and one of the radio stations that airs this program. And Mark comes on the show all the time whenever we have stories like this in the news. So really appreciate your time on our show on Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
Okay.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information. To access the full library of episodes, visit nickandroy.com. That's nickandroy.com. Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy continues. Listen, laugh, and learn.
So that was cool with Mark Mendelson.
Oh, yeah.
He's really that's I love that stuff because it's real, In Kentucky, this was my tease. In Kentucky, a woman is forbidden to wear a bathing suit on the highway.
No. Really?
Yes. Unless she's carrying a club. This is the actual law. Unless she's carrying a club or escorted by at least 2 police officers. So she needs to have a club and 2 police officers, or she cannot wear a bathing suit on the highway. The law does not apply. Listen, this is in the law. The law does not apply to women under the weight of 90 pounds or over the weight of 200.
No.
I swear.
I mean, it's bad enough it's bad enough you have a law like that to begin with, right? And then
Right.
they come up with these parameters.
Right. Well, the parameters are pretty much children under 90 pounds.
Yeah.
Or fatties over 200.
No. See, that's just
That's
plain
basically
wrong.
what they're saying. They're
That's
body
plain wrong.
shaming. They're body shaming
So,
people. It's crazy.
Is it for distraction? Is that why you can't wear it on the highway because it'll be a distraction?
It could cause accidents, especially if you're between 90 and 200 pounds and built properly.
Wow.
Listen, in Ziegler, Illinois,
Yeah.
no, this is an actual specific place, Ziegler, Illinois.
Yeah.
We probably got mail from there. Only the first, get ready, you're going to love this one. Only the first 4 firemen that arrive at the scene of a fire will get paid.
Really?
Yeah. So if there's a fire and they say, fire at 3rd and Elm, they rush like maniacs because the first 4 that get there get paid and the other ones don't.
Wow.
Isn't that nuts?
So-
And then my last one,
Yeah.
there's a law. This is legitimate. It was put into law in Massachusetts in 1648. It has been revoked. Okay. But this law was in for many, 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 many years. In fact, a couple hundred years. The Stubborn Rebellion Law was passed for parents whose children were considered stubborn or rebellious. The parents could ask the judge, the magistrate, to put their children to death.
What is wrong with this world?
He's being stubborn. He doesn't want to go to school. Please put him to death. But hitting a child is completely out of the question.
Unless
You can only do that to your wife once a
right,
month.
and unless the child's wearing a bathing suit because they're under 90 pounds.
Wow, these are nutty laws.
Now, in California, it is illegal to lick.
What?
Hold on, let me finish. It is illegal to lick a
Why
toad.
the suspense, Nick?
It is illegal to lick a toad in California.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to lick
No.
a toad.
Possessing the toad's poison called bufotenin is illegal in the state.
Yeah.
The liquid is extracted from the toad's glands and then dried into a paste. This paste is then smoked, and users soon they become hallucinogenics, right? They have
You
this
know,
experience.
Nick, I'm going to tell you something else too that could happen, and
Yeah.
this is a cause for concern.
Yeah.
You kiss a toad, nothing good can happen, Nick.
So don't lick a toad while you're in California. And in Tennessee, in Tennessee, children need a license to play games on Sunday. Except it's not true. So I saw the headline
No?
at first, and because you're looking at strange laws, illegal. It's not true. It's inaccurate, not really a real law.
It's probably organized games.
Something like that. There's a law in Tennessee
Yeah.
that prohibits minors from playing bingo or anything. There's a lottery.
Yeah, well, it's tough to play bingo with that hat with the light on.
no, not that kind of minor.
And a parakeet in the cage.
Yeah. And apparently that statement, the law, they say, is likely a fabricated fact, often circulated for comedic effect. Well, we're not laughing because
No.
we took it seriously. On totally useless information with Nick and Roy.
From Beethoven to Bieber, rock and roll to rhythm and blues. This is totally useless music information with Nick and Roy.
Way back when, in 1912, I remember it well. It was my first Olympic trip. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saving you the trouble of telling. What was that like, Nick?
That's when Nick had just come back from the big war.
That's right. It was W1. That's what it was. W1. Have you heard some of the veterans talk about that? It was W2. WW2.
WW1 when they hit the camp.
And then they really confused people when the internet came around. They said WWW. Wait a minute. How many wars were there?
They hit us with mustard gas, and I said, "What? No hot dogs?"
What? No relish? Could you imagine?
Sauerkraut first.
Over the short history of the art competition, they actually had art competition at the Olympics. From 1912 to 1948, 151 medals were awarded to the categories of painting, literature, architecture, and music. 17 of those 151 medals were awarded for music.
Wow, gold medal.
Yes, for music.
Wait, no, 1912. I think they were just giving out silvers.
Maybe because they didn't have gold yet.
We had that on the show, if you remember.
Something
The
like
original
that.
was silver.
Yeah, it
and
was. Yeah.
whatever.
And just like, I did win the gold medal once, and I had it bronzed.
Yeah, which is very nice, Nick. Along with your baby shoes, which were size 12.
From 1912, yes.
This is strange.
Yeah, go on.
There's a New York City man. His name is Patrick Grant, and he created International Strange Music Day. August 24th is International Strange Music Day. And what this Mr. Grant expects you to do on August 24th
Right.
is listen to some music that you may not. So if you have never listened to rap music, you should. If you don't listen to jazz, you should, or classical, or fusion, or some sort of techno.
Right.
You should listen to different musics that you find strange, and it may enlighten you to listen to something else.
That's interesting. Strange.
August 24th every year, International Strange Music Day.
Mark your calendar. So we're
No, his name is Patrick.
Oh, sorry.
Not Mark.
No, Mark.
Mark was the guest with the.
That was earlier. So the Imperial March, remember? Dun, 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 dun. That was iconic. Ever,
Yeah,
right?
love
It
that
was
show.
first played in. No,
That's Star Wars. Every time Darth Vader is in a scene,
the Empire.
every time, watch Star Wars. The second you see Darth Vader, you hear dun 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 dun.
It first started. It was first appeared.
But
And-
you're talking about the Death March. That's a different song.
The Imperial March.
The Imperial March.
Yeah.
That's it then.
It started the Empire Strikes Back in 1980. Was that the movie we snuck into? Was that the movie 1980? All right.
Yeah.
So Mark's off the line, right? The detective is off the line.
Yes.
Okay. So let me. I'll tell you the rest of the fact in just a moment. But in 1980, myself and a date, and Roy and his wife. You weren't married yet, I don't think. Right? You weren't married, but I think you were dating your wife or whoever you were dating at the time. We went on.
At the time, we were friends.
That's right. Right. So we were double dating. Okay. At that time, we were double dating. All right. So 1980, we were double dating. Roy and I were double dating, and we decided to take our dates to The Empire Strikes Back. Now, because it was such a popular movie, it was sold out. And so what we did was we went into the lineup and said, "I'm sorry, it was sold out." And I forget what other movie that was playing at the time. So we said, "Well, okay, Empire Strikes Back. That's too bad. We'll go buy 4 tickets for whatever the movie was." And then we snuck into the theater where The Empire Strikes Back was showing. And then
Remember the guy with the flashlight? You got tickets? Yeah, I got tickets.
Yeah, he didn't say for which movie.
If I got to go into my pocket for these tickets, that flashlight's going to disappear.
And so apparently they had four people who didn't have seats. Well, guess who was sitting in those seats? So Mark Mendelson, if there's any statute of limitations, that wasn't us.
And very much like Star Wars, because I was into it, I said to the guy with the flashlight, "These are not the squatters you're looking for."
100%. Now, so back to the fact. So now that iconic song appeared in every Star Wars movie ever since. Now, it's one of the biggest songs. It's often played at North Korean military parades.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information.
Nick and Roy for Tom's Place. June is birthday month at Tom's Place, and they'll celebrate all month long. Tom's 69th birthday is on June 7th. Annette's big day, June 9th. And Tom Jr.'s is on the 13th. Throw in Father's Day and Canada Day, and you'll have a month-long party.
They know how to celebrate down at Tom's with birthday deals. Make a birthday wish, and new spring arrivals included with select designer suits at only $369 each, or three for $969. Select dress shirts from only $69. Upstairs, you'll find stylish sport jackets for $109 off. That's $109 off the price. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Find out many more deals all month long.
Join the excitement. Win an incredible $569. See what he did there? $69 to celebrate his 69th birthday. A $569 shopping spree. Just tag Happy Birthday Tom on their social media at Tom's Place TO, and you could be a lucky winner.
So head over to Kensington Market and treat yourself to a special birthday offer. Upgrade your wardrobe and styles with brand name menswear. Tom's Place.
190 Baldwin Street in the heart of Kensington Market. Tom's Place will suit you.
Not only will they suit you, but they'll celebrate with you.
We're back with totally useless information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
A study in France, which probably led to wine and bread,
And
has revealed that
cigarettes.
people
And cigarettes.
that people drink beer faster when the music in the bar is played very loud.
What?
The louder the music,
Yeah.
the faster you drank beer.
Oh.
Hmm.
Makes sense because you sort of follow the beat of the music, and then maybe that's why they do that. Maybe
See, you saw it that way. This is how I look at psyche.
okay.
Nick saw it as the music, but I saw it as the social function, that the music was blasting so loud that you could not speak to the person next to you, so all you could do was drink.
Ah, okay.
That's
So
what I thought. It would shut you up because you could no longer speak. All you could hear is this blasting, blaring music. So just pick up your beer and drink until you fall off the stool. And then you don't have to worry about listening to the music because you're out cold.
exactly. So you looked at it from a different psyche. I looked at it from a different psycho.
You looked at it through the music lens.
Right.
I looked at it through the lens of the drunk.
Well, we are doing music on Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. So, did you
Nick, I said the music was loud.
What? What'd you say? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you ever own a grand piano?
I've owned two
Grand pianos. Okay.
Yes.
So the world's largest grand piano was built in New Zealand by a 15-year-old.
Really?
A New Zealander named Adrian Mann built the world's largest grand piano called the Alexander Piano, named after his great-great-grandfather. He was only 15, right? So the piano is over 18 feet long, weighs over just about 1.5 tons, and has 85 keys. He started building it when he was 15, and he said he started building it when he was 15. He finished when he was 20. Took him 5 years to build the world's largest grand piano.
Well, you got to build the metal harp that goes inside of it.
Right?
It's a harp in there. And then it's attached to what's called a soundboard,
Yep.
which makes it resonate.
Yep.
But the hardest part that I understand of building a piano is twisting the wood, which is one piece.
Oh.
It's laminated, but it's one piece that then is twisted, and they have to keep wetting it and twisting it, and wetting it and twisting it until they can put it into a frame, and they keep wetting it and twisting it. So it takes months to twist a piece of wood to manipulate this wood.
It is, well,
very similar to how my wife got me to marry her.
Right, yeah, exactly. I was going to say you did a lot of manipulating of wood in high school.
Yeah, she waterboarded me until I said yes.
Then you had wet wood.
On the 10th of October, 2006, British singer Katie Malou.
Yes.
I don't know if you know her, Katie Malou.
You know what? I know her sister, Skip Malou.
Ah, Skip to Malou, my darling.
Yes. She's from South Carolina.
Oh, yes, she is. Yeah. Well, Katie Malou did something very weird, Nick.
She skipped.
She didn't do something weird, Nick. She did something weird.
Okay.
She performed an entire concert, the whole thing, couple hours long.
Yeah.
She was 303 meters underwater, very much like our interview with the guy that lived underwater.
Yeah, the scientist, yeah.
She went underwater into a tube thing and performed an entire concert, 303 meters underwater.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very normal. Just a normal thing.
100%.
She said, gee, this guitar is wet.
What did she sing? Tiny Bubbles? Like,
yeah, wow. No, she did Beach Boys music.
Speaking of the Beach Boys.
And the crowd did the wave.
They did. They did. Well, funny you should say that. The Beach Boys, Good Vibrations, the song, cost over $50,000 to produce in 1966. It's it's just a large sum of money. Of course, speaking of the Beach Boys, recently, at the time of this of recording of the show, we lost one of the founders of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson. So we had Eric Alper, who is a Canadian music correspondent. In fact, we had Eric Alper on the show a few seasons ago, talking about music. He was asked about Brian Wilson and how he made Beach Boys music, the iconic sounds, and how Brian Wilson was influential not only in the sounds, but the harmonies as well. Here's what he said.
He made these harmonies sound so childlike, and it was like a direct line to heaven. Even words on the paper like ba, ba, ba. He got his bandmates, which are, his brothers and his cousins, to sing like angels in such a good way. And when you're young, you're kind of attracted to that, to just these voices that sound really, really great. It's not till you're older when you realize that just how sad some of the songs were. There's a real underlining of somebody who who wrote these songs that was going through some not just physical violence from his father, but mental anguish and mental health issues throughout his entire life. But it's amazing that, like Yellow Submarine by the Beatles, there's so much more that are going on underneath the layers, but it's so easy when you're 5 years old or you're 50 to listen to that music and not feel good.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I watched a documentary on the making of Good Vibrations, and at the time, 4-track they would bounce tracks. So a typical Beatles song would have like 16 tracks, 18 tracks, which was unheard of at the time.
Right.
And then you had guys coming in doing, different abilities of spinning off tracks. Well, I think 64 tracks was Good Vibration, and they were bounced tracks. So it could be 128 for all we know that were actually happening. But Brian Wilson stayed in the studio. In fact, they were concerned. I think at one time he didn't take a bath for like 3 weeks. He didn't leave the studio. And he literally almost lost his mind making the song. But I believe he's a Hermetic Principles guy, and Good Vibrations is an homage to the vibrational. If you listen to Hermetic Principles, certain vibrations are good. They're healthy for you. They'll heal you, or they'll help you. There's good vibrations and there's bad vibrations. And of course, those are good, and they had to be a certain vibration.
But iconic, and they use an electrotheremin, which sounds like you have to take 2 of those every morning. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's that sound. And it's funny because he would use that, and of course George Harrison bought the first Moog synthesizer,
right?
And he was the first one to use a Moog synthesizer on a record. And of course, with the amazing team that we have here, the song was "Here Comes the Sun."
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And thank you to the team for looking that up while we're live.
That's right. We're useless. We have a useless team that works on totally useless information with Nick and Roy.
We really don't know what they do.
What's are they useless? But thank you.
Okay, so here's my last music one.
Okay.
What country holds the distinguished tradition of the oldest organized music traditions?
Ooh.
So again, when they say organized, they mean written down songs, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Not just banging on a drum.
Right.
Okay. What country? And I'll give you an idea. 3,000 before Christ. 3,000 years before Christ.
Wow.
So it could only be one of maybe 3.
Yeah. Okay.
It's China. Not the Greeks, not the Mesopotamians, but the Chinese. They wrote the music down. They were very big on documenting everything. The Emperor's Book and all that stuff. But they felt music was important. Again, another vibration thing. And 3000 BC, the Chinese started organizing their music.
Here's some good vibrations. Go to nickandroy.com, nickandroy.com, and you go to the Nick and Roy store and you click on birthday messages, or anniversary messages for that matter. But the birthday messages, we put together a very special, unique, and personalized show, a totally useless information show about the day that they were born. nickandroy.com.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information. To access the full library of episodes, visit nickandroy.com. That's nickandroy.com. You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Here's my teaser. I love the smell of my spouse in the morning. Studies indicate that smelling your partner's scent, particularly through their clothing, can reduce stress and increase feelings of calm. Like, do you like smelling your wife's clothes? Do you?
No, Nick, I can't say I walk around smelling my wife's clothes.
Do you like to?
I know that you've been known to go into neighbors' properties and open up the woman's underwear drawers.
I was going to ask, they told me to stop. So have you ever worn your wife's clothing?
Nick, I would, but it clearly would not fit. So, yeah.
So the smell of your spouse clothing. So here's what it is. Because of the sense of smell is directly linked to emotional processing areas of the brain, familiar scents associated with a loved one can trigger a release of oxytocin, a hormone that promotes relaxation.
What's in the mailbag? What's in the mail?
So I'm going through the mail, Nick,
Yes, mailbag.
and Nick always picks the one where people ask people, like questions to do something.
Yes.
I always mark those as for Nick.
Okay. Thank you.
Harold from Hastings, Nebraska.
Oh.
Didn't even know there was a place called Hastings, Nebraska. This is what Harold is saying. My birthday was so amazing. We had a great party of over 30 friends and families. What a great surprise. The highlight, the best surprise of my entire birthday, the highlight was when my daughter brought out a computer, and played the birthday message that she had got from me from you to the entire crowd.
Oh, wow.
It was so cool. And it was crazy. When it finished, people stood up and began to applaud.
Oh, nice.
Oh, how cool is that?
Okay. Yeah,
He said it was my best day ever in my life and my best birthday ever. Thank you so much, Nick and Roy, for what you did.
John from Toronto says, Dear Nick and Roy, I totally support your show. We love your banter and your jokes, although sometimes they're corny. Who asked you? Anyway, here's my question. Can a high-pitched voice shatter a wine glass? High-pitched sound, particularly the one that matches the natural resonant frequency of the glass, can indeed break it. So the phenomenon is a demonstration of resonance, where the sound waves vibrate the glass at the specific frequency. 556 hertz at 105 decibels is what will do it, as long as the consistency of the thin glass is the same. On the show today, we talked about law. We spoke to the iHeartRadio crime specialist, Mark Mendelson. Thanks again for joining us. We talked about music. We talked about sex. It's time for the news.
And now, from around the corner and around the world, this is TUI News.
A woman, doesn't say where, by the name of Christine.
Probably Florida.
Well, it says here an American woman, so this story must come from overseas. But an American woman, Christine Connell, suffered a sinus infection for 7 years.
What?
She had the 7-year sinus infection.
Mm-hmm.
She believes that this sinus infection started 7 years, started after an incident with her ex-boyfriend in 2016. Okay?
She remembers this.
Well, doctors found E. coli bacteria in her sinuses. They suspect that the E. coli entered her sinuses during the incident. Now, she tried...
Is this a point of insertion?
Connell tried antibiotics and nasal sprays without success. Now the doctors are considering...
Sounds to me like she got it from a nasal spray.
considering surgery. Now, the species of bacteria that particularly located within the intestines is what it was. So the woman...
Yeah, E. coli is from poop.
So she had suffered from persistent sinus infection for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the incident, which she shared on her TikTok, because, why not share all of the personal stuff on TikTok?
No, well, of course, nobody sees that.
She said that the infection started after a strange incident, like we said, 2016. She was recovering from ankle surgery in a hotel room when her then boyfriend, according to her, stood naked between their two beds and released a really loud fart near her face.
Wow, no.
Okay.
Wait a minute. He passed gas.
He passed gas near her face.
Into her face.
She was lying down and accidentally inhaled
I mean,
it.
she was injured, so
Right.
she couldn't even get out of the way of
That's
the blast.
right. She had ankle surgery. So she was
The
lying.
methane gas hit her in the face.
She accidentally inhaled it. Shortly,
she accidentally inhaled the either pungent methane gas that was filled with some
E. coli.
fecal matter.
Right.
So this guy blasted off so bad that fecal matter flew out.
It did. It was a matter of fecal, yes. So shortly after, Connell began experiencing serious sinus problems. Actually, I'm going to make the alliteration. Let me just rephrase that. Shortly after, Connell began experiencing serious sinus symptoms. Make the alliteration.
Very good, Nick.
Thank you very much. Serious sinus symptoms. She had trouble breathing through her nose. Well, where else will she breathe from? Anyway.
Well, she could breathe from her mouth, but it's a good thing she didn't do that either.
Right,
that
yeah.
would have left a you-know-what taste in her mouth.
She had constant headaches and facial pain.
Well, now, let me ask you a question. So this guy walks in the room, he gets naked, and he says,
right.
hey, I think this will be fun, and he releases gas in her face.
Right, that's correct.
Were they, now, again, I have to dig down just a bit deeper.
Just a
Not that
little
I
bit.
really want to dig deeper into that, but
What are you, a proctologist? So she said that the doctor said, although extremely rare, bacteria can spread unexpectedly. This case is a good example.
had he had clothes on, it would have spread so
Exactly, it would have been
unexpectedly.
filtered. So now it's not clear in this story if he intentionally wanted to release past gas in front of her or in her face, but maybe it was just the positioning because, like she said, she was laying down on the side and she accidentally inhaled it. So I don't know if it was.
No, you don't lay down on the side. Well, then again, maybe he just pulled the bed covers down and happened to lean forward and bang, right into her face.
What was that?
you know?
What do they call it? A Dutch
Did he
oven?
apologize?
This says here in the story, it says that it's her ex-boyfriend. Is this the reason why they're no longer together?
Yeah, come on.
That's all the time that we have for this episode.
So no, wait. You're ending the show on
Yes,
this.
I am
on this
ending.
note,
I am
which is
ending.
usually like B minor.
Hey, you know what? You just came up with something. I think we need
Yeah.
to find out what note do most flatulent sound like. How's that?
Ooh.
Thank you for joining us. That's all the time that we have for this episode of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We will scour the internet far and wide to find totally useless information just for you.
So until next week, you do not have to wait a whole week. You can go to nickandroy.com and see all kinds of cool stuff on our website. Don't forget, join up for the newsletter where you get interesting stuff and when we do interviews and so on. And there's some fun stuff coming along, folks. Our interview podcast. So until then, tell a friend about totally useless information because 90 countries around the world because of you.
And we'll tell you more about that interview podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy.
Thanks for listening.
Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy is recorded and produced in Canada. For more totally useless information, visit nickandroy.com. That's nickandroy.com. Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy has been brought to you in part by Tom's Place, the finest in men's fashion. Located in Toronto at 190 Baldwin Street in the heart of Kensington Market. Or visit toms-place.com.